stir me up a bit because I'm on the home straight now, so very glad to be here. Hi Tom, how are you? Oh, you're being a stagehand as well, amazing.
Multi-purpose,
multi-purpose, brilliant. Okay, I'm going to come over here. So now this is our build session. So this is, ooh, very exciting. It's just me that's excited, isn't it? Okay, all right, I'll try and contain my excitement. Right, what do I need to tell you here? So let me tell you about Tom. That's Tom. So Tom, while I kind of just get my breath back, tell us your understanding of what's going to happen now.
I didn't know there was going to be a test. I got invited to do this thing, and so we're going to take all the things that we've talked about today, the 5 pillars that we've looked at, and we're going to ask everyone some questions using the app that's obviously going to work seamlessly this time. And we're going to put the results up, and we're going to discuss, debate, and decide if that's the firm that we all want to go and work for, and quit our jobs and go and work for moving forward.
Perfect. That is a good summary. Good. Well briefed. So, audience at home, this means you as well, audience in the room, this is your time to vote. So, get ready while I do this spiel. So, as a reminder, these are the pillars that we've covered off whistle-stop tour today. So, we've done investment, advisors, manufacturer, restricted versus independent, broad versus niche, and planning versus advice. So, basically, what we want you to do is taking everything into account that you've heard today. We want you to imagine you're building an advice or planning financial firm of the future for 2020, no, where are we now? 2033. Yeah. Thank you, Tom. It's a good thing he's here. And beyond. We basically want a future fit financial planning firm. So each pillar will have 1 voting question attached and a choice of 2 fairly stark responses. So Steve, hi Steve, he's going to be our resident pointless guru. That's the TV show, not the relevance. So he's going to kind of keep scores on the doors for kind of rounding up each vote as we go through so we can summarise what the future firm looks like at the end. Now is not the good time to lose my voice, is it? I'm going to keep going, okay. Right, so we know basically that we're going to be forcing you down a path here. We're going to be giving you quite arbitrary options, and we know that there's a lot more nuance in that, and we hope that we've managed to get into some of the nuance today, and we'll also have a bit of time to discuss it in the room, from your comments at home, all of that kind of good stuff. So there is still nuance within it, but we know we're kind of making you choose one or the other. That's just how we've designed the poll, basically. So while you're kind of going through the votes, there's 5 of them for the 5 pillars, obviously. We want you to be kind of thinking about what's missing from these pillars. So is there anything that's a kind of key decision or inflection point in your business where we haven't covered it off today? Technology's come up a lot, client engagement, advice delivery, that kind of thing. And we'll kind of get into that in the chat as well. So in my notes, it says, like in my best Chris Tarrant voice, so we want to, let's do the build. Cue millionaire music. Right.
That's amazing.
So, the audience, yes?
I've just been kicked out of the app. I don't know if I'm the only one. Can you remind me what the password is?
Scans a little QR code on your badge. It's easiest, it's long to type in.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, right, thank you, Fee. We are about to do the vote. So for the vote, for the people at home, it's, If you wait a second, it should come. I think what happened before in the kind of financial services Kim Kardashian way is that we broke it when we tried it first time. So it might be that if there's too many requests or whatever, if you just give it a second and refresh again, it should happen. But this is the question that we want to be asking people, and it was related to the first pillar, investment. Will we make investment a key part of our skill set in our new business? So you're thinking about not your own firm, but your imaginary future fit financial planning firm based on everything you've just heard. So A, yes, we need to show clients we've got control of the key aspects that define their outcomes, or no, let's leave it to others who enjoy that sort of thing and stick to planning and advice. So Tom, while we kind of collate the results, what's your kind of take on investment as a pillar? Is that something that you're kind of thinking about in your business?
Well, yeah, so we set up our business a couple of years ago, and we obviously started with a blank piece of paper, so we had to think about our investment proposition. because although we are very planning-led, it's the investments that power the plan. So we partnered, we have a couple of MPS portfolio ranges. We've got a purely index range, and then we've got a blended range. But we partnered with those with a DFM. And we did that because I've come from an environment where I was working for a big firm in Scotland. I was on the investment committee there, and when I joined it, we had the advised model solution, and basically it's sitting with the DT risk allocation. Roddy's looking at me going, Christ, that was, he came in and said that you should not be doing this. When I joined, it was the DT risk asset allocation, and every quarter we would meet and pick from the DT recommended funds. Now that's not doing anyone any good, just recommend Vanguard Lifestrat and have done with it. Other fund ranges are available. I think my view is if you're going to do it properly in-house. You can, as others have talked about, bring a DFM proposition in-house, or there are ways of doing it, but I think that advised model MPS thing is dead in the water.
Okay, so the outcome of our first vote then seems to be pretty much majority no. We don't want to make investment a key part of our skill set. We want to focus on the planning. So that might be kind of in line with what you might expect.
So great, we're off for a winner then. I'm feeling good already.
You 1 for 1 already. Okay, you ready to vote again? Yes. Right, okay. Let's take the second vote then. So the second pillar is advisor as manufacturer. Tom, you can read this one and I'll have a rest. Okay,
no problem. I'll need to put this as awkward. I need to put the glasses on to read the screen. So do we want additional revenue and responsibility for being a manufacturer as well as an advisor? Yes, bring it on. Any additional risk, cost and complexity is well worth it. Oh, hell no, have you read the CAS regulations? Now, when I started, I had all these grand plans. I was speaking to Hubwise and Settle and things, and I was, we're going to have our own platform. And then I actually read the thing, and I was in the hell no camp. I don't want it. I'm not interested. 2 for 2. Sure, just come and work for us. It'll be great. And I think Philips, I was firmly in Philips' camp earlier, because we're going through that thing of looking at where we deploy the 100 quid. And we're spending money on engagement tools like a direct consumer cash flow modeler and things like that to try and drive engagement in the planning side, rather than spending it on a platform that, let's face it, any platform people in the room, I'm sorry, to me they're just buckets. I just want an effective bucket to hold my client assets on that takes the DDs when it should, pays out the money when it should, and has the tax wrappers on there. I don't care what it's called necessarily, I just want it to work.
Yeah, so that seems pretty concrete, so thank you for that. And I think actually you've hit on a good point there, and I'll put the next question up just while the online kind of audience catches up as well, and people can think about it later. But, have I gone too far? Sorry. Thank you. Okay, right. Yeah, no, so what I was going to say was, having spoken to a couple of people today, there are people who were on that kind of new firm journey, and they're actually, looking at this and going, let's just get everybody else in the room to design my future business. So
if anybody wants to hear about all the mistakes that we've made over the last 2 years, I will be at the after party, and I'm not proud. I will tell you about all the mistakes. We talk about all the good stuff on LinkedIn and on Twitter, but I'll tell you about all the shit at the bar.
That's very honest and giving of you, Tom. Thank you. And I was just going to say we accept no liability for the strength or failure of any future businesses that fall off the back of our poll results. Right, so this is the next vote that we would like you to do. I hope you're still voting at home. So independent versus restricted. I didn't even get to read the question. Right, so let me just go to my notes and I'll read you the question.
It's back.
Oh, it's back. Oh, thanks. So will we go independent and be ready to demonstrate we really have looked at the whole market, or go restricted with one or more propositions we know work? So A, live free or die, independence all the way. That probably needs a flag or something. And B, no reason to make life even harder. A bit of restriction is fine. Now, Tom, I guess the default response with this is it's got to be independent, hasn't it? Yeah. But what do you think about what you've heard based on today?
Again, so we've been on the sort of M&A track and speaking to a lot of business owners. Mark's already smiling because he knows that I've bleated about this a lot in front of him. And you see a lot of people that go, oh, I'm independent. I am independent, I'm independent. And, I mentioned before, we've got model portfolios, we've got relationships with a couple of platforms, really strong relationships. But at the minute, probably less than 50% of our assets are in those portfolios. And if the new person walks through the door and those portfolios aren't right, that's cool. Well, you can have pre-fund, whatever, that's fine. But someone called me vertically integrated, then proceeded to tell me that they had 100% of their assets on one platform in one model portfolio range. And they charged, I won't get into charging thing, but I just sort of sat there and said, and thought, you're calling yourself independent when you have had this arrangement for the last 15 years. I actually think our model is a little bit more demonstrably independent. So I think if you are going to be independent, great, but I think it needs to be done properly.
So actually, this is actually coming out at quite an even split, which is interesting. But independence has edged it.
It's closer than I thought. That
yeah,
I thought that would be closer to sort of 80-90% independence.
Yeah.
Anthony's obviously won a whole load of people over. Either that or this side of the room's SJP.
That got a big laugh, so probably not.
I'll run away now.
Okay, right. So we're starting to build our future financial planning firm. We've got a couple more pillars to go. So this is the next vote, both at home and in the room. So broad versus niche. So it's this idea of whether by serving everyone, you're not really serving anyone all that well. So the question is around, we can serve anyone who can afford us, or we can identify a niche and go hard at it. So we have A, love all, serve all, no need to specialise, and B, let's conquer one niche and really nail it and see how we go. So please vote now. Tom, what would you say about this one?
I have developed my own niche, apparently, amongst people that like to wear gilets. But that's been purely by accident. I think it's a funny one, because I do have a niche with sort of company directors and things like we all tend to do. And it's engineers a lot of the time that I've fallen in with, or farmers. But actually, I was really inspired by Helena's chat, because I've got this real thing for me that our firm has to do good, and it can't just do good by helping wealthy people retire. So that's why we're investing the money in the sort of direct consumer cash flow modelling and all those engagement tools. So it's that thing we're sort of trying to niche at two different ends of the spectrum. And then I think we're actually not niching, we're just doing everything, and hopefully we can do it well.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not meant to be me, but what's going on? If it was niche for you, you'd be saying, please only come to Calton Wealth if you're a farmer or an engineer.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider doing something?
No, so that was raised, and when we were going through all these I was going through all these business coaching things, I got the UK government very kindly, UK, not Scottish government, put me through a Help to Grow course through Inherit What Uni, and there was lots of talk about niching down there, and I just it sounds a bit, I really like helping people, and so I don't want to just work with farmers. I work with farmers if it gets me an extra couple of days shooting, but otherwise.
And actually, that's another one that's fairly split down the middle. But interestingly, people have gone niche. I'm
not surprised to see niche. There's a lot of chat. The Trap podcast, the advisor that Alan Smith and co do, they've had a couple of really good episodes that have talked about niching. Or niching, and I think it's. I think if were I 10 years younger, I think I might look at niching. And say, I am only going to work with creative director agencies and stuff. But the fact is, I'm a middle-aged, chunky man in a gilet. Creative agency directors don't want to work with me. They want to work with a 30-year-old.
Perfect. Okay. And then I think this is our last vote. So we'll make it a good one. So Tom, why don't you do the honours?
So are we lifestyle coaches with some financial bits attached? Or do we lead on the solid advice with some planning attached? A, life planning is what makes a difference, and that's what we should major on. B, first things first, get the finances straight, and then we can get into the softer side.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So while those results are coming in then, I think it's, I guess it's a kind of evolving conversation, and I've kind of done my reporting pre-RDR and then seen advice and profession and all of that kind of thing. And I guess I've mixed in circles where I think financial planning is the norm, and I think behavioural-led planning is the norm, and cash flow and all the rest of it. And I think there was one question around like sort of snobbery around some of this kind of stuff. But is there a sort of sense of like either getting back to basics or kind of B, just going back to the bad old days almost?
I think I adore Vic and I adored his session, and I think there is that.
How could
thing.
you not?
I know, well, the shoes alone. So there is this thing, and there's a lot of us here. I mean, there's people that I've met for the first time today, but I feel like I've known for ages because we've chatted through Twitter lots. And there is this bit of an echo chamber on there. And there is a bit of an echo chamber on there that is, if you ain't doing financial planning for a fixed fee and you ain't using dimensional, then you're a bastard. And I definitely think so we are a planning-led firm. We want everyone that comes in the door to have a plan. But we are pragmatic. And there are people, especially in Scotland, who come in and say, I don't want any of that touchy-feely stuff. Which I can.
Is that what they say,
Do
Tom?
it in the accent.
You should have heard my South African accent. It was horrible. But so, and they'll just walk in and say, we want to give you a check and we want you to invest it. And, and we'll have a bit of a chat around it and we work on them. So I've got clients that came in a few years ago and have, they've given us some money and then I've worked on them over the years and got them to do a plan. Same as, I would much prefer people didn't use ProofFund. I think there are better options, but I've taken people on where ProofFund was the only thing that they would countenance because they liked the mainly straight line. And I was talking to one the other day, a client who started off in ProofFund, and we've now got him in a 100% equity portfolio, 7 years on. And bizarrely, it was right in the middle of the pandemic when he went, nah, let's do it. I can see the benefit of this. And I think it's that behavioural side. You can't just always expect someone to walk into your practice, into your office, or onto a Zoom call with you and be like, yeah, give me everything, I want it all now. You might need to work on them over a bit of time. And I think that's where the snobbery thing comes in. There are practices there will people be sat at home now shaking their heads going, my God, he takes on clients without a financial plan. Heathen. But I beat them over the head enough with it until they want the financial plan. And that's the difference.
So look at this then. So actually, that's the power of the Victor Sachs analogy, isn't it? Live and in action. So most people who voted say, let's get the finances straight and then let's do the soft stuff.
It's the SJP side again.
Cool.
No, I'm surprised by that, but I don't think it's necessarily wrong. I think, that's the first one I think we've lost as a firm then. Because we'd have probably put the
So
planning.
4 out of 5, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's all right.
Cool. All right, let's take a seat then and let's kind of open it out to you at home and to you in the room. Let's kind of feed back on what we've kind of just sort of talked through. Who would like to sort of put their hand up and feed back on building that future financial planning firm? Thank you, sir.
Hello. I would like to say I was sitting next to Justin King, and Justin King and I met down on the George Kinder life planning course 12 years ago. We were one of the early adopters in the UK. And so I can tell you, I voted for life planning as opposed to the other one. It's made such a difference having learned to do his and then integrate it. I would think that Mr. Sachs, had he been on the course, would agree that it's a good thing to do, but I don't know if he has.
He'll probably find you in the bar afterwards, debate that with you.
But I also think that if George Kinder had been here today, there'd have been a much higher amount saying life.
It always depends who's doing the argument, doesn't it? Any other questions? Oh, thank you.
So I'm really torn on the niching aspect of things. I think on one hand, like if you can do one thing and do it really well and there's a market for it, then why wouldn't you? But also we're people and we're relationship builders, and I don't know in practice if people no longer fit your niche, if they age out of your target market or if they change career and they're in a different profession now, how good are you really at binning them off as clients?
Okay, what do you think about that?
Well, this is my problem. I just want to, I want to work with people, and especially I want to help them. And if you developed a relationship with someone that you met when they were your, 35-year-old creative agency director niche, and then they've gone off to work for an energy company and then retired, and they don't quite fit your niche, but, why would you? I wouldn't sack them as a client. I couldn't. And I think, so I wouldn't be able to do that, so I wouldn't be very effective at it.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, thoughts? Oh, thank you. Hi, Phil.
Hi, just to pick up on the niche, something I've been involved in for years. The key thing is to look at the niche from the client's end of the telescope. A number of advisors I've met in the past wanted to specialise in high net worth clients, and nobody has ever described themselves as high net worth at all. Nobody thinks they're wealthy. So it's understanding who the client is so they can see themselves in your firm. And we have a very small niche in the multi-jurisdictional area, and it's the best and easiest marketing because people look at the site and go, I look like that, and they've done the work. They've done the work. They know we charge fees. We know what the work involves. They know what the planning involves. It's much easier. Advice process, we can deliver more value and much clearer value to those people in that niche. So I would definitely go with that. It's understanding that. And I know there's people who's working with doctors and the famously complex NHS dentist schemes and things like that, you know, and I think there is a huge value from the client's viewpoint. It's speaking to somebody who demonstrably understands their life. It's normal for them, it's not normal for most people. So that's just my thoughts on niche. It's from the client's end of the telescope, not from our end of the telescope.
I think you're absolutely spot on. And I think the difficulty with niching becomes when it's that thing that you were saying about, are you going to only take, or I might say, are you only going to take that person? So for instance, I have a very slight military background. My in-laws are farmers, and my wife's an NHS surgeon. So, I pick up people who see me in a regimental tie. On the one day a month I wear a tie. And I have people who see me dressed like this and, hear about me, stalking and things like that. Animals, not
we
people.
Should say, yeah.
Animals, not people. Where's Dave Penny when you need him to look after me? But yeah, and it's that, so I absolutely agree, Phil. It's that thing of, but I think the struggle comes, as was identified by the lady that spoke before you, do you niche so strongly that you're pushing people away? And I think it takes a lot of courage, especially for a younger advisor, to go, this is our bit, this is all we're going to do. And then the millionaire lottery winner comes through the door and they go, no, I'm only interested in X and Y. So I think, but I can't argue with anything that you've said.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I guess if you take the example of some of the businesses we've heard from today, EQ or Money Means, that it has been, we know who we're serving, we know who we're catering to, and that makes the marketing messaging easier, the proposition then flows from that. But yeah, it's like you say, if you're going to go so niche that you're kind of turning away people, that obviously as a business owner feels a bit uncomfortable. And
and I made no bones about it in the first 6 months. No, in the first, hell, up until about a week ago, 2 years in, when I felt entirely secure in the business, we were doing unprofitable work, and there was that bit where we got to a stage where I said, no, actually, we are only going to concentrate on the stuff that we should be doing, and we've said is in our business model, because and that was me. I was fortunate that a number of ex-clients found me and came to me. If I was a new advisor starting out with none of that behind me, I think it takes a lot of guts to just stick to a niche.
Okay. Away from niche then, so we've had a question come in online. I don't know if it's online in here or online at home. But just sort of talking about building a business of the future, does it not depend on perhaps not these pillars, but whether you want to scale it for profitability or lifestyle? Yeah,
100%. And I think that's... I made that decision before we started about whether or not it was going to be a lifestyle business for me. If it was a lifestyle business for me, we would not have the office that we have. We would have done lots of things differently. But the sort of my wife and I's life plan is that for various reasons we're concentrating on our careers. So she's concentrating on her research and her surgery, and I want to build the best business that I can to help as many people as I can, and I can only look after so many people. So we need to build it to scale. Mm-hmm. But there are definitely different things that you do Well, I mean, if it were a lifestyle business, I could look after my clients on my own with some very part-time admin and, you know, and live a happy life and probably a more lucrative life than I do at the moment.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're in the growth phase. And I think if you are scaling, the systems piece is really important. The investment piece is really important because somebody said it up here, I think it might have been Anthony on the screen. You know, we have a second business that we're involved with called Game Plan, and that's a scale business, mass affluent proposition where we are training advisors. We've got sort of 10 advisors starting an academy process at the moment that have been protection and mortgage advisors and coming over onto wealth management and financial planning, whatever you want to call it, financial advice. And I want them to have a system and a process to work to. That's a lot different from me sitting there going, oh, I'll do this today, I'll do that today, this client can have this. I don't want, you know, 60 advisors running around the country doing a different thing, 60 different things.
Yeah.
As Anthony said, as the man who's answerable to the FCA.
Yeah, no, exactly. Do we have any more questions, comments, thoughts, feedback? Okay, I'm going to ask you one of mine then.
Okay.
So, it's not that bad. So in terms of, like, we've kind of picked these pillars and we've formed an agenda around them. What have been the crunch points for you that you think we've missed or that we haven't discussed? I mean, there's been a few themes that have popped up today which may or may not be relevant for you. So technology, client engagement, how do you deliver advice in the future? We haven't touched any of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, so going back to something that Vic said, you know, we're all salespeople. You know, we are, and we sell a service. And it's that thing of, but it's hard to look at client acquisition. And we have touched on it with the niching, you know, because that's about client acquisition. Are you going to go after anyone or just one section? I think it was pretty, and again, the technology one, I think the ones you've missed out have been the nuanced ones that it's hard to cover because we'll all have, you know, 250 different views. We can't, there is no point, there is no value in us sitting and having a debate of what is the best back office. It's not IO, by the way. Where's the camera? It's not IO. And
Tom's coming to get you.
Sorry, I was asked to bring opinions, so I thought I'd bring opinions. So yeah, there's no value in that, but I think that the things, these are the big questions, and as Anthony said, it's about changing, especially with independence restricted debate. I think it's about changing the structure of that. It's too adversarial. It's too, you know, you're restricted, you're crap. Mm-hmm. You know, I have said for a long time now, I would rather someone went to SJP and got, there's a couple of really good guys I know at SJP, Andy McIntyre and Michael Constantine, and I would rather people went to them than didn't get financial advice and didn't get planning.
Thanks, Vic.
Thanks, Vic.
All this vouching for SJP, I don't really know where to go with
Well, I feel I was quite hard on them during the questioning. So I thought,
this is the most love for SJP I've ever seen at an IFA.
Are you surprised that it's me giving it as well?
You've got a lot of love to give to them. So that might be.
Okay, enough of that. Right, so Gary asks, I guess kind of following on from the kind of the business piece, do you think a small sole advisor lifestyle business can still be profitable and survive into future years?
For a second, I thought that was going to be Gary Dale saying, "Can you start paying your non-execs?" I was a bit worried. No, I think absolutely it can, and there was an attraction to me doing it. If our family situation was different, if we had kids and things like that, then it was something I would have probably done that. I think you can make a fantastically profitable lifestyle one advisor business. Because the way technology is going now, you can, we're working with a technology partner that, reckons that we can get one advisor to look after 500 clients. I think that's wrong. I'd say no. I did that in Take a Breath. But I said it, I said if you can get it to 200 with the appropriate level of support. So all the, like the way I'm looking to you for approval, sir. We've never met, and I'm going, is that okay? Is 200 okay? So I sort of said to him, look, if the MD, I said, look, if you can get us to 200 with the appropriate support, I'll take you and your wife to Glen Eagles for the weekend, because that would be a super profitable, advisor. So I think if you are embracing technology and you are you've maybe got a little bit of support, so all you're doing is the sort of the client-facing stuff, and you've got a really good admin support network, maybe employed or maybe outsourced or whatever. I think you can have a super profitable one-person lifestyle business. And you know, good on you. Why not?
Good. Gary would like to point out it's Gary Hale, not Gary Dale.
Oh, Gary Hale, good. No, well, no, we didn't even say it was just. I just heard Gary and went, oh god.
Are there any more questions, comments, thoughts? No. In which case, Steve, please give us the scores on the doors for our future financial planning firm.
I would be delighted to, Natalie. So in order of consensus, we start with pillar number 2, where 95% of voters said no to taking on some form of manufacturing within the firm. Next we go to pillar number 1, where 3/4, almost exactly 75%, saying no to taking on investment construction within the firm. In fact, delegating it to someone else to focus on planning. Then we would go to pillar number 5, where 64% of you said you should stick to getting the traditionals or the fundamentals right. Then we almost had a dead heat, but just narrowly ahead was pillar 3, with 57% of you going for independence. And next we have pillar number 4 with 56.5% saying go for a niche. And what's really interesting about that, if you're into probability, of which I'm sure all of you are, is if you multiply all those percentages together, there's only a 15% chance of you going with the majority on every one of those issues, or in other words, an 85% chance of you fundamentally disagreeing with one of those 5, which illustrates perfectly, I think, why we're here today, to give room to oppositional sides, to give room to different business models and room to everything. Brilliant. And those are the scores on the doors.
Thank you very much. What a brilliant Richard Osman Steve Alston is. I didn't mean to give you a round of applause, but people just can't help themselves. Right,
I'll take it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have built the future financial planning firm of 2033 and beyond. My thanks to Tom Ham, my very multi-talented co-host. Thanks to you in the room. I'm heading off now. Mark and Steve will wrap up. Thank you.